Today we're taking a look at 5 ways that you can automate your daily tasks using make.com. We're going to start with creating a simple scenario that watches for new emails on Gmail and adds them to a list in Google Sheets. And we're going to take a look at scenarios as complex as this one, where we have a webhook, and then based off of different criteria, we can go in and generate various things using OpenAI and save those to Airtable. Hey guys, welcome to another episode. So unless you were living under a rock for the past year, you're all up to speed with AI, with large language models, with ChatGPT, with Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and all those things. But I want to take a step back out of that and take a look at something else that's really picking up speed, and that's automations. And AI has enhanced that even more, but even at its core, automating a task nowadays is really simple. So there are 2 main platforms, Zapier and make.com, and I personally like make.com much better. So today we're going to take a look at 5 examples on how you can automate your daily tasks, and those can be great for helping you streamline a bit more your daily work life and be able to get more done by eliminating mundane tasks from your workflow. By the way, I started a free weekly newsletter that revolves around no-code tools, business, startups, automation, productivity, stuff like that. So first link in the description below, it's free. Give it a try. If you don't like it, you can unsubscribe anytime. That's the platform. You can see you can start without a credit card. There's no time limit on the free plan, and the free plan gives you 1,000 operations per month, which is quite a lot. I got this one, 10,000 operations a month, and there are unlimited active scenarios. Pretty much get access to the core features. So once you sign up and log in, this is your dashboard. You can see here various scenarios that I have and my usage. And if you go to your scenarios, or you can go up here, create a new scenario. And so I have a new scenario here, save emails to Google Sheets. Let's edit it. And so I have this worksheet in Google Sheets where I have email name, date added, subject, and email link. And I want to start building a list of all the emails I receive. So the first thing we need to do is we need to add a trigger. So this is something that's going to make our scenario run. I'm going to look for Gmail, pick Gmail. I'm going to go with watch emails. So this is going to watch for new emails that are coming in and perform my scenario based off of that. I already have all my connections set up. It's pretty simple. It would ask you to add a connection. Specifically for personal Gmail accounts, it takes a few more steps. But make.com has amazing step-by-step tutorials on how to connect to pretty much anything. I'm gonna go and pick a folder, and it's gonna be inbox. My criteria, want all emails, and I don't wanna mark them as read when fetch. Let's leave it at a maximum number of results at 1. What we can do otherwise is we can only do it for unread emails, and then we can mark them as read when they're fetched. Not gonna do that right now. Okay, and I'm gonna go with all emails. And keep in mind that the only reason I'm going with all emails is because I selected that we're only looking at our inbox. If we're looking at all mail, then I'll never do that because it would run through every email you ever received and you ever sent. Now that we have our trigger, and you see here that it's running every day at midnight, you can do it once or at regular intervals. So let's say I want to run it every 3 hours, 180 minutes. Don't go in and just run it every minute, because even if there's no new email, it would still eat at your operations. It's what's limited on pretty much each plan. So I'm gonna run it every 180 minutes. Okay, it's turned on. You can turn it on or off here, and let's leave it at on. I'm gonna add a new module, and what I wanna do now is I wanna search for Google Sheets, because I wanna add this to our worksheet here. Grab Google Sheets, and I wanna add a row. Already have my connection here, but you can add it pretty simply, and I'm gonna leave it at select by path, my drive. I'm gonna select emails, the spreadsheet ID, and my sheet is sheet 1. I'm gonna leave it at contains headers, and you see here that for the first columns, I'm seeing the names that I inputted as headers. The idea here is that those are the values that I need to pass to this node, so it would create this row in my worksheet. Every time I go into a field here, I have all previous nodes, and they're pulsating like that when you hover over them, and all the information that I have from them. And you see here that it even loads up like a last email as a preview, so you would know what you're working with. Okay, so we need the email. It's going to be in sender email address. You can just click it and it's going to add it here. Want the name, it's going to be sender name, the date, the subject ID is going to be subject, and then the email link, I'm going to select message link, and this is a URL that will take me directly to this email in Gmail. Okay, that's everything we wanted to save. I'm gonna hit OK, and that's pretty much it. So what we can do now is let's just run it once to see if it works. Okay, grabbed one email, processed it, and if I go to my emails worksheet in Google Docs, you see that I have email Jacob, name Jacob from software, the subject, and the email link. And that's it, your first scenario in make.com. But this is just scratching the surface. From here on out, you can get way more creative and create really much more complex scenarios. So I want to quickly go over like 5 other scenarios. Oh, and don't forget to check the Minty store, where you can download various Excel templates and ebooks absolutely for free. Link in the description down below. So this is another scenario that's like a bit more complex and a bit more helpful, if you ask me. So this is something that I really like, is creating draft replies in Gmail. So I have this for my main Gmail account, but for this one here, I haven't turned it on. Let's go ahead and take a look at how it works. So what it does, same thing, it watches my Minty Analyst Gmail account, the inbox, it looks at all emails, doesn't change anything about them. Then I'm creating a completion with OpenAI. This is an action that OpenAI allows. So let's take a look at it. I have my OpenAI connection. You need to go to your API keys on platform.openai.com/API keys, create an account. It's really, really cheap, especially with the price drop that they did last week. And you only pay as you go. So there's no like monthly fee or anything. Once you have your connection, I'm creating a chat completion using the new GPT-4 Turbo model, and I'm passing 2 messages. So one is the system, you're a very helpful personal assistant, and the other one is the user message. Write a reply to this email from the sender name, which I'm getting from Gmail, with this email, and the subject is subject, and the body of the email is, and I have the text content, and I prefer to get the text content from here instead of the HTML content, because this one has a lot of HTML tags, and more often than not, OpenAI's reply tries to incorporate HTML tags as well, and I prefer to get like clear text. Okay, I'm gonna hit OK, and then the last step in this scenario is we're using an action with Gmail, creating a draft. So it goes into Gmail's draft folder and creates a draft to the sender email address with the subject here, and the content I'm grabbing from OpenAI, from choices, message, and content is the reply that GPT-4 gave us. Hit OK, and now let's run it once and test it and see what happens. Okay, so we grabbed one email. It's using OpenAI right now, and it created a draft. If I go to my inbox in drafts, I have a reply to Jacob@software.io. You see it got the subject here as well, but just delete that. Obviously, you have to go through and take a look. That's why I prefer to save it as a draft, because I always want to go through and make sure that it makes sense what the reply was. But even spending some time on that will be much, much faster than having to write the whole thing from scratch. Okay, next we have this here scenario called enrich link. So what I have is have this website that I built on software for internal purposes that I can use to store links in a database. So anytime I read something or see an interesting product, I can add it here. So for example, I can go with Magnimetrics, gonna add the product service URL, and for categories, let's pick finance and startup. I'm gonna rate it 5 out of 5, and I'm gonna save my link. What this does is it goes to Airtable and it adds this link here, and you see here that I have various articles above, and I have a short description for each of those articles, just a few sentences. And what this scenario does is it actually runs daily at midnight. So it looks for new records in this table, and then based off of if it's a product or an article, it's pretty much the same, just the prompt to OpenAI is different. But what it does is it generates those short descriptions for me. And my whole idea is to have this like repository of interesting links that I can then share in my newsletters, and always have a short description to remind me what it was all about. So now that we added this new row here, let's go ahead and just run it once. So the first thing it did is it recognized it as a product service, and those are basic filters which say, okay, if product or service is different than nothing, then go this route. Otherwise, check if article URL is different than nothing and go on this route. Then what it does is it takes this URL and makes an HTTP request, then uses the text parser tool to parse this HTML to text. Then I have the OpenAI here. Here I'm using GPT 3.5 Turbo, and I have my messages, the system, your helpful assistant who writes an amazing summaries. And the user, please write a concise 1-paragraph summary for a product service called title. So this comes from Airtable, from over here. I have the title, Magnimetrics, based on their website's content here, and I'm passing the text that I got from here. And then I'm saving this result from OpenAI in Airtable by updating the record and adding the message content to the short description field. So if I go here, you can see now that I have my short description updated here. Magnimetrics is an FP&A platform that transforms raw financial data into strategic insights effortlessly. Their platform features seamless data import, automated analysis, custom report library, key formulas and assumptions, public templates, and so on. It's a pretty good summary of what our platform is, and this really saves me a lot of time, because usually I would go in like weeks later and figure out, okay, I'm writing a newsletter, I'm writing an article. There was this article that I read. Let's go ahead and find the link. And here are the links that are not used in a newsletter yet. So I'll go to this list here and look at the descriptions and figure out what I want to use. As I was building the link enrichment and used the GET request in the text parser, I built this scenario that doesn't actually have a real way to initiate it. So what this scenario does is it pretty much answers questions about website. And our CTO is going to a conference, and he had some questions about our product that he wanted to make sure that he has concise answers for, so that he can reply to people as he's interacting with them. And I wanted to see, like, quickly test if I can generate those, at least a good starting point with OpenAI. What I did here is I created a new webhook as my trigger, and it gives you an address. Just gonna copy this address and paste it here. I'm not gonna open it yet. So you see that the next one takes website from webhook. So this is what I've been passing. You see magnimetrics.com. So what I'll do is just go here and type in like that, website Magnimetrics, run it, and it was accepted. So that's just a way to initiate this webhook. I'm gonna run once, and you see that there's existing data in the queue, the one that I just sent. I'm gonna use existing data. It's gonna grab the URL, make an HTTP GET request, parse the text, and then use OpenAI to answer all those questions that I have here. Based on the provided context, please answer the following questions, 15 questions. I open it here, and if you go to choices, 1, message, content, and you see here that I got answers to all my questions. And those are a great starting point for how we want to frame our responses. So that's another way that you can use make.com is just have like some quick snippets that you can use here and there whenever you need to. Another one I have here is every time I get an email, I would create a record in Airtable here. So I wanted to either create it if it doesn't exist or update it. But I want to keep a list of all the people I'm interacting with via email. So let's run it and see what it does. So it grabbed one email. Apparently it didn't run through because there's no new emails. Just gonna go and go with all emails. Okay, run once. It found 21 emails, but instead of duplicating those 21 times, it first searches for a record that contains this email and then uses the upsert action, which updates if it exists or creates new if it doesn't exist. So that's another way, pretty similar to the first one that we looked at, but instead of using Google Sheets, we can add those to an Airtable database. The next one I've been trying to do lately is want to watch emails and use ChatGPT to create a summary first, and then try to figure out if this email contains action items. So if there's something I need to do. So let's run it and see how it works. Okay, it grabbed an email. Now it goes through 2 sets of ChatGPT instances and creates a record in their table. So the first OpenAI request says that you summarize emails, reply with 3-4 sentences, and please summarize the following email. And here what I'm doing is I'm using the substring function from Make, which I believe is here with text and binaries function substring. What I'm doing essentially is I'm limiting this to 50,000 characters. So if it's a really long email, I don't want it to send everything to ChatGPT because it's going to return an error. Just going to go with 50,000 characters and passing the email text from here. Then what the second one does is you're a classification expert that responds with yes or no, and I'm providing it with the result, the summary from the first ChatGPT instance here, and I'm saying, does this require any action that I need to do, any request that I need to do? And as soon as it knows those two, it adds a new record here. So here it's the subject, the message link. The status is a column that's up to me if it's to do, in progress, or done. Then I have the sender name, the sender email, the summary of the email, and whether it contains action items, yes or no. This one doesn't because it's a newsletter. The last one I want to show you is, you see, I even have a logo playing around with this idea of a business post generator. So this executes every time new data arrives in the webhook. So I'm just going to run it once, and then I'm going to go back here and say LinkedIn post topic, why is the grass greener in Scotland? I'm going to hit generate post, and you see it started running. So what it does, it listens to this webhook that gets this request, and then it searches for records on Airtable, searches for the user based off its email. It checks if the user has usage left, because you're limited at how many generations you can get per year. So it increases the daily generated count. Then it checks whether you still have credits to generate, and it tells you that you can't generate anymore by changing marker in Airtable. Or it goes to another router that checks whether this is Twitter, Facebook, or LinkedIn. And here we have platform equals LinkedIn, which we selected. Then it sends the question to OpenAI, and the idea here is to use a custom fine-tuned model. So it does that, the topic, if there's context, or if there's no context, it adds that, and then it saves the generated post to Airtable. And if I come back here, I can go to my history in my MVP website, and see the post it generated. And you see, because it's for LinkedIn, I have it generating like really long posts. But yeah, that's another way that you can use Make.com is you can have a front end built in a simple no-code builder like software.io, and then have all the backend logic running in Make and updating an Airtable database or a Google Sheets database, because software supports both Airtable and Google Sheets for backend. But yeah, those were the scenarios that I wanted to show you and to walk you through. Just wanted to showcase like various ways that that you can really automate simple, small tasks from your day. After looking at those examples, I really hope that you were able to like figure out how you can apply those to your own like tasks, everyday tasks, and hopefully automate a little bit of your work and get some time back for yourself. So thank you guys for watching. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Also, don't forget to subscribe if you're not already, and maybe even punch the bell icon to receive notifications every time I upload a new video. Till then, thanks for watching, and check this video out.